How's it going, everyone? We have yet another exciting update on Stellar Blade, and we do know that while the game had a major day one update, a free update at that, didn't expect that to be coming so quickly with New Game Plus being added. More content updates are coming for the game, and I would imagine, based on the success level of the game, that we are going to hear a lot more about Stellar Blade and content updates in general in the coming weeks and months. Probably in the coming months, I foresee a sequel happening, but you guys can make your own decision, and we'll talk about the Metacritic reception. We talked about it yesterday, and it just is going higher and higher, and there's a lot to digest with that, but this is legitimately Stellar Blade right now. It might change. I don't see it changing based on the fact that it has 2,000 user reviews. It is the highest rated PlayStation 5 game ever. Let that digest for a second. We'll talk that at the end of this video. But right off the top, it looks like Stellar Blade will be getting a major new update in the future with a boss rush mode. In an interview with Korean outlet Nate, translated via Google, Stellar Blade game director and Shift Up CEO Hyung-tae Kim reveals that a boss challenge mode is currently being planned for the game. In the interview, Kim also revealed that other DLC add-ons and free updates for Stellar Blade have yet to be decided upon. Wasn't noted whether or not this boss rush update is going to be a paid DLC. I imagine it would be free, but we'll see how everything plays out. I do think Stellar Blade is one of those games that is well worth the $70, but, you know, $70 is a lot to pay, and if the expectation is you're going to get free updates on top of that, they added New Game Plus. Boss Rush would be nice as a free update, but we'll see how that turns out. They did say, as far as updates go, the cosmetics, there would be free updates added as far as that, and they would monetize. This is what they said prior to the launch of the game. They would monetize the aspects of if they did a crossover with another game and another publisher, or even within Sony, I would imagine, within a different development studio. And, yeah, that seems like just an absolutely disgusting way to print money. And when I say disgusting, I mean in the sense that that seems like a money printer waiting to happen, because if they're doing a crossover with another IP and they decide to monetize those costumes, I don't think that's a big deal. I think that's fine, especially given that if a publisher is getting on board, there's going to be agreements that are going to have to be made, and everybody's trying to make money where they can. And if, I saw a lot of people point this out in the comments section, it would be business malpractice if Shift Up, Sony, Square Enix are not communicating and figuring out how to do a Stellar Blade Nier Automata crossover. If you guys want to print money, that's what you do. And Square Enix, in general, like, costumes from Final Fantasy being in Stellar Blade, and obviously you can go the route of other PlayStation IPs, God of War costumes, Horizon costumes. There's so much you can do in terms of monetizing the game, which you could make an absolute absurd amount of money, and I think people would be willing to pay, like, however much it is, $2.99, $3.99. I'm not saying the million plus people that have bought the game are all gonna spend the $5 to $10 or whatever it is for costumes, but how much work does it take to implement a costume? Not that much. And the back end, as far as revenue goes, oh, it's going to be absurd as far as that's concerned, if you do want to do that for crossovers. Now, with how successful the game has been, I think not only are you going to see content updates, I think you're going to get DLC. If we're going to get paid DLC, I could very well see that happening, because if you've seen what Sony has done with a lot of their PlayStation to PC games when they come out on PC, and the new formula they've been going with in general a lot of times has been release PlayStation game, then release update or expansion, then release the game on PC. We've seen that over and over again. Horizon Forbidden West, they did Burning Shores, then they released it on PC. Spider-Man, you had City That Never Sleeps, then released it, you actually released the remastered version, then you released it on PC. God of War Ragnarok, when that comes out on PC, you would have Valhalla. Yeah, Valhalla was a free content update, but it was a major content update nonetheless. That seems to be a formula that's been working for them, and I would think you continue to do it, because if you're going to release these games on PC, and you're going to retain a $60 to $70 price point, well, you're going to have to incentivize it in some form, being that it's a year or two old. And I think if you get Stellar Blade and Shift Up to drop some DLC, and then you release it on PC, let's say 16 months, 2 years from now, you can price it at $60. Now, I think you can price Stellar Blade at $60 literally when the game comes out just as is on PC, and people would still buy it, but to incentivize the user base to buy it even more, I think DLC makes a lot of sense. I do think ultimately, as far as sales numbers go, Stellar Blade's main limiting factor was that it's PlayStation 5 only. I think if this game was out on PC, literally, it would have at least 1-to-1 sales replication of its PlayStation 5 version, meaning if it sold 1 million copies on PS5, it would have sold 1 million copies on PC as well. Obviously, if you did a PC and PlayStation 5 release simultaneously, some of the PS5 releases would have gone down. Some, not a lot, but I do believe some. But I think the game would have been in the news cycle even more, as it would have been accessible to a lot more people. The PC audience is massive, and Sony games, they do iffy on PC. Some of them do really well, others not so much, but you're also talking about games that are coming out on 2-year delay, so keep that in mind as well. I think Ghost of Tsushima, for example, is going to do incredibly well. Horizon Forbidden West did fine, but it didn't blow the doors off anything. But yeah, something to consider there, and based on the numbers that we're seeing on PlayStation, it is seemingly pushing really solid numbers, and I do foresee DLC, I do foresee a sequel coming as well. Guys, when you have an IP like this, I say it over and over again, new IPs, unknown studio, $70 price tag. It is damn near impossible to pop off when you have those factors in play, and guess what? Shift Up did exactly that with Stellar Blade. They created a fantastic game, and they are being rewarded for it, and if anything, the dialogue attached to this game leading into its release, I think only helped the game. I think it only brought more eyes to the game, and that brings me to my next point outside of content updates and future DLC. When you look at the reception of this game, an 82 on Metacritic I already think is great. Universal acclaim on its user score with 1,969 user ratings, 9.3 for its reviews. Think what you want of user ratings, but a 9.3 is nothing to scoff at. I do see people having their criticisms of the game, characters being bland, so on and so forth. Somebody also brought up the opinion of comparing it to Elden Ring, and Elden Ring got 10s across the board. Now, Elden Ring does have a story. Obviously, it's told in a unique way. I'm not here to decipher the story of Elden Ring, and Elden Ring does what Elden Ring does very, very well, but I think Stellar Blade, from an action combat standpoint, does that very, very well. Its narrative, you can, you know, be a little bit down on that for sure, but its gameplay is just tremendous. Soundtrack is fantastic, and a 9.3 user score, sure, it's gonna fluctuate a little bit. We saw it go down to a 9. I say go down to a 9.0, but a 9.0 is absolutely tremendous still, and now it's at a 9.3, literally the highest reviewed game on PlayStation 5 ever. Let me reiterate, ever on Metacritic. Think of what you want on that. That is a remarkable, remarkable statistic for a new IP, unknown studio, $70 game. It just seems like the gaming audience that has a PlayStation 5 is absolutely gravitating towards it, and it seems to be one of those contenders for a lot of gamers in the mix for Game of the Year, and I didn't think it was going to be in the mix for Game of the Year, and while I wouldn't say it's my Game of the Year at this point, it is certainly in the upper echelon. We're talking top 3 to 5 games for me, and by the time I'm totally finished with it, and if they roll out any more content updates, who knows, it might even go a little bit higher. And as I really think about all the games I played this year, we'll see where it shakes out, but I did not think going into Stellar Blade it was gonna be in the mix for the upper echelon tier of games. Whenever I talk about the best games of any given year, I talk about the top tier games and then the second tier games. For example, in 2023, I thought a game like Hogwarts Legacy was comfortably in that second tier. I thought Stellar Blade was gonna comfortably fit into that second tier for 2024. For me right now, it's a top tier game, and in that mix, in that discussion for the best game of the year. And whenever you get a game that is at least in that discussion, bros, that is a slam dunk home run. I cannot even quantify how big of a home run Stellar Blade has been when you take a look at all of the factors that were working against it. And I know some people were making a big deal out of, you know, the dialogue and the controversy attached to this game. Again, that was either a neutral element at the end of the day, or in fact, it was a positive. And I think you're gonna see that a lot when it comes to stuff like this. A lot of the times when you see this rhetoric online, it's good to look at it. It is definitely information, and whenever you have information, it can be a valuable asset, but you can't let information you see on social media completely warp your view on certain topics and certain elements, because anybody can go on Twitter, and you could say the same thing about looking at a Metacritic user score, but at a Metacritic user score, you have a 2,000 user rating sample size. That's a significant sample size. Even if you want to look at it from a critical standpoint, 82, you're getting more information, you're getting more data data that would lead you to believe that Stellar Blade is an astounding success. When it came to the controversy attached to the game, you know, it was stuff that was getting traction, but it's social media dialogue. Now that the game is out and people are playing the game, when you see how people are responding to it, I feel that is infinitely more valuable than social media dialogue about other aspects of the game. And now, you're gonna see this game do incredibly well, and I am incredibly curious to see exact sales numbers. When it is coming to the point of it being a PlayStation 5 only, that is going to be a limiting factor, and I doubt it's going to sell, 3 to 5 million copies. I don't think it's going to do at that level, but when you look at all of the factors again, doing as well as it has, I think this has been a slam dunk home run of a success. I'm really happy for Shift Up doing a new IP, and the player base is responding well to it. From a quality standpoint, it seems like commercially it'll do well. Again, we have to hear official numbers, but based on the data we have thus far, the game has done exceedingly well, and it looks like more DLC and more content is to come. And as far as, monetized content, I don't think crossover cosmetic content is the biggest deal in the world. If they're getting like a Nier Automata 2B costume, I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world if they do monetize that. That's crossover. It is what it is. It is an essential. If you're a Nier fan, you buy it. I'm not like, when it comes to monetization in video games, I'm all about managed greed. I'm just not about going off the deep end on $130 Ultimate Editions, but if it's manageable, I think that's fine. I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world. I get that it's a business and they gotta make their money, so we'll see how ultimately that shakes out. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.